This is Inside the Tour in association with Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions. I'm Alastair Eykyn, Lions fanatic and rugby commentator. I plan to stay connected to this summer's tour with the official Lions app powered by Vodafone. Hello, we're at Inside Tour Pod on social, and in this season finale, I'm about to talk to a very special guest.
Hello, I'm Doddie Weir, the big look forward from Scotland. Yeah, that's all working out.
Amazing.
The quarters are going.
Fantastic. Doddie, how are you, first of all? How are things at the moment?
Very well. Enjoying life. I don't know if the kids in the family are enjoying lockdown quite as much as me, but they get quite frustrated and annoyed at myself. But I had a bad fall about 6 weeks ago. So when I trip or fall over, it's like having your arms taped to the side of your body. So when I fell, I banged my head, 5 stitches, knocked myself out, lost a tooth, bruised my lip, and got a wee ride to the hospital in ambulance. So we're doing very well at the moment.
You're doing really well, my God. That was really quite recent. Okay, but you're recovering.
It was, yes. I think I have to admit I've had more injuries with this M&D lot than all of my rugby career.
Doddie Weir is a remarkable man. As we come to the end of our journey with the British and Irish Lions of 1997, one of the biggest characters on that trip gets a whole episode, somewhat fittingly, just to himself. As we heard on episode 6, his Lions tour ended prematurely, a victim of opposition brutality. It wouldn't be the last cruel blow to strike this immensely popular man of the Scottish borders. In June 2017, 20 years on from that famous tour, and with 61 Scotland caps to his name, Doddie Weir was diagnosed with the incurable Motor Neurone Disease. He was given roughly 3 years to live. Since then, with remarkable verve and vigour, he's raised millions to support fellow sufferers and assist research into treatment and a possible cure for MND. His attitude to life is one of unfailing positivity, something which can inspire us all and touches all of us who've had the privilege of enjoying his gregarious, generous, often hilarious company.
Wherever he goes in the world, he makes friends. Listen, if he comes to a party, you've got a party.
He's always had a constant smile and mischief in his eyes.
Doddie Weir, he holds a special place in my heart.
He was put on this planet to make everybody feel good.
And the thing that comes over always is his positivity.
I think what he's done and how he's gone about it is extraordinary.
People tend to think that Doddie's a big stupid laddie, but he was a very, very serious rugby player.
That's Lions coach Jim Telfer. We'll also hear from the team manager Fran Cotton, the doctor James Robson, and his longtime friend, the broadcaster Jill Douglas. From that class of 97, Keith Wood, Rob Wainwright and John Bentley. As for Doddie himself, you'll hear him in slightly dodgy Zoom quality, not the greatest. His recording device gave up the fight in a way that Doddie has never contemplated, small victories. We thank you, Doddie. This final episode of the series is our tribute to you, Doddie Weir. Here's your friend John Bentley.
Doddie's one of my besties. Yeah, I loved him to bits from day one, and I've had an amazing friendship. You have a real warm feeling about coming away, having been in his presence, and a bit of a glow inside. I've never heard him really say a bad word about anybody. Nobody, and he's always laughing and smiling. He's just full of life, and it's as though he was put on this planet to make everybody feel good. He's amazing. Amazing.
I'm Jill Douglas. I am a sports broadcaster and I am also CEO of My Name's Doddie Foundation. So I've known Dodd since we were in our teens. I knew him through sort of farming circles. We're both from Borders farming families. And Kathy I knew before she met Doddie, really. So we've all been really good mates from when we were in our teens. He's been our best man, godparents to each other's kids, all of that. He is somebody, I think, who, wherever he goes in the world, he makes friends. And even now, I meet people who say, oh, I remember Doddie came to our rugby club 20 years ago or 15 years ago and he said this and my wife, danced with him, or my son got a chat with him, or whatever it might be. People love Doddie, and I mean that unreservedly. He is somebody who is very easy to love. And not everybody's like that. But he's just a big character.
Jim Telfer. People tend to think that Doddie's a big stupid laddie, and he likes doing stupid things. He does do these things, childish things, but he was a very, very serious rugby player. And although you wouldn't say that he extended himself too much to the point of exhaustion and training, he never shirked anything either.
I'm Rob Wainwright. It's difficult to analyse how it was back then. Doddie was, to a degree, daft Doddie, always looking for a bit of fun. Maybe, as he'd say himself, not so diligent on the training field as Jim Telfer would like him to be, but with massive natural talents on the rugby field. He's always had a constant smile and mischief in his eyes, and a very kind person he always has, and he just looks to bring joy.
James Robson. I was the tour doctor on the Lions tour to South Africa, 1997. Doddie Weir, he holds a special place in my heart. He sat on the plane beside me on the way to Canada for my first tour in 91. I'd never met an individual who could eat as much, and indeed I remember him actually distracting me and pinching half my aircraft meal. I then remember him being in the first McDonald's I was ever in, or a similar establishment, and just eating phenomenal quantities. And in those days, he was a bit like a beanpole, but he had the appetite of a lion, and that's the way he's lived his life. He is the most gentle of people, the most understanding and caring person that I could ever wish to meet.
Listen, if he comes to a party, you've got a party. I remember the Lions tour in 2009, and it was my husband's 40th birthday. That could be right, yeah. And we went down to our local rugby club to watch the match on the day of Carl's birthday, and the bold Doddie appeared down to the rugby club. Now, we didn't know that many people down at our local rugby club at that time. We hadn't lived there very long. Well, within about an hour, they were doing boat races, and it was like lunchtime, or whenever it was. I don't know what time of day it was, but they were all on the floor doing boat races, and they were all... and they still talk about it. And then he came to the house afterwards. They're down regularly, and of course now are well known to all of our friends in Cheltenham. He was just the barman, he was the waiter, he was just having a whale of a time, and that's just what he's like. But there is a more thoughtful side to Doddie, and a very caring side, and he's got great empathy, which I think he can pick up on people's moods really quickly. So he's a very good person to have as a mate, I'd say.
Fran Cotton, I was the manager of the 1997 British and Irish Lions. Yeah, the first time I picked up on Doddie and his sense of fun and humour was back in Weybridge as part of our preparations. We were doing the very beginnings of media training. And we had John Taylor, who was working for the Mail on Sunday, and David Norrie, who was working for the News of the World at the time, came in. They were talking about various things about, if you're in the bar at midnight and this blonde suddenly appears and sits on your knee, you should be a little bit circumspect as to what the motives are. But then they decided to ask some questions, and I think it was John Taylor suddenly said, Doddie Weir, the Lions manager, have put a curfew on for 11 o'clock last Friday night before the game. And it's reported that you were seen at 1 o'clock leaving a nightclub. What have you got to say? And quick as a flash, he just said, my father's on tour here in South Africa, and he looks very, very much like me. And the whole place collapsed. It was just how quick and how he said it, and suddenly realised you had a good guy here with a really good sense of humour.
He was fun, always fun to be around, and he was playing well on the tour. There was a good chance, Jeremy Davison emerged. Jono was always going to be picked. Well, they felt Jono was always going to be picked. That's why we made him captain. And then he got injured and had to go home, which was sad. We said goodbye. But Richard Branson flew him back out, I think, for the tests, the latter stages, and he came back out.
We did. We missed him. You need those characters on the tour, and there were quite. John Bentley's obviously one. Doddie was another, and when those guys suddenly get the tour finished with some ridiculous incident, initially it does take a bit away from you, but then you've got to get on the horse quickly, and we wish him all the best, but we've got a job to do. We've still got to win this Test series. The players responded.
I'm Keith Wood. I was the Lions hooker in 1997. It was a nasty, I don't know whether you'd call it a stamp. It was more a karate kick than a stamp onto the side of the knee. And it looks awful, looks wrong, is wrong. The people who watched the video can see the emotion on Doddie. And I watched the video in lockdown. It's the first time I watched it fully since it came out. But that emotion when the realisation is that this is it and this is over. Well, one thing I'd say for Doddie wears his heart on his sleeve. And that pain, it's not physical pain. That's the bursting of a dream, to play in a Lions Test series. Like, that comes across so incredibly, And then his stoicism after it.
And I think with that injury, yes, he was bitterly disappointed. But then, as he ever is, he would think, well, at least I was there in the first place. And I've had a whale of a time so far, so a lot of guys never even got on the plane.
And of course now we're seeing what stoicism means and how you can deal with something and make it about you and make it not about you at the same time.
Life after rugby, you try and set yourself, your family up for the future, go enjoy retirement, and you never think anymore about your health. So 4 years ago, I had a wee issue where my arm was shredding an arm, a bit of skin twitching. Went to the doctor, got diagnosed with MND. And with that, it's not the best of kind of results you want to hear. It's a terminal issue.
Gee, for all of us, for him, for Kathy, for the boys, for everybody, just kind of speechless, really.
There is no cure to it. And life expectancy is between 1 and 3 years. So every day we got a little fight with M&D, and at the moment it's quite tricky because I'm lucky I'm still living 4.5 years in after being diagnosed, still able to speak, eat, drink. A lot of people don't have that luxury anymore, but I do need help putting food in my mouth. I do need help in the shower. My good lady is truly unbelievable in that department, but hey-ho.
I was due to meet him at an event somewhere down south, and he rang me ahead of me meeting him to tell me the news. This was way prior to his announcement, not long after his diagnosis, actually. It was at Christmas 2016 was the diagnosis, I think. He rang me to tell me, and I couldn't believe it.
I found out, Doddie told me, I was speaking at a rugby dinner, which I do rarely, but I was doing it up in Scotland. And just before I went up, I was talking to Doddie, and I said, "How are you, Doddie?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay, I'm not great." And I said, "Okay, nothing bad, I hope." And he went quiet, and he said, not good. No, not good. It's motor neuron. And the second he said motor neuron, the MC said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Wood." And I walked up to talk about it, and I ended up talking about Doddie for 10 minutes, just because I actually couldn't get him out of my head.
Having seen Joos van de Vesthuizen, Jared Cunningham, Carl's uncle, Tom Smith, who was a Lion himself, actually played prop for Gala. He died of MND, but he was an old man when he died. To see Doddie and to know what he was facing was really hard. And of course, the immediate thing you want to do is rush up there to help. And what can we do? Well, there's not much you can do. And I can vividly remember Carl telling me Carl couldn't speak. Same as when Doddie tried to tell Carl they couldn't speak, and poor Doddie had to go through that process of telling his loved ones really early on. And then none of us talked about it for another few months until he processed it and he wanted to wait and tell his family at the right time. So really hard, but we all kind of had some real big, open, honest conversations. And I think that's a really amazing thing to sort of sit down with people that you care about and talk about some of the big subjects. And those were around what would happen to him at that point. He didn't know if he'd live for a year. That's the prognosis when you're given this most devastating diagnosis. You really are warned that things could happen very quickly. So there was quite a lot of things to think about in that immediate first few months. And even today, it's, it's like anybody who's had somebody in their lives that they love and care about, to find that they're unwell or given a diagnosis of MND, it's a tough to deal with. But if your mate is Doddie Weir, you follow his lead, and we follow his lead.
We'll pick up the story again in just a minute, after this message from Vodafone's Lions ambassador.
Hi, I'm Sam Warburton, Lions captain in 2013 and 2017. Hope you can join us ahead of this year's Test matches in South Africa for Lions Live, created by Vodafone, bringing you closer to the Lions. We'll have special guests dining in from the camp and plenty of Lions legends sorting you out with pre-match analysis. For more information, download the official British and Irish Lions app, powered by Vodafone, and we'll see you soon for Lions Live.
This is Inside the Tour, in association with Vodafone, lead partner of the British and Irish Lions. It's a My Name is Doddie special edition to close the series. That's the foundation created by the Scotland and Lions lock forward Doddie Weir shortly after being diagnosed with motor neurone disease in 2017. We're hearing from teammates Rob Wainwright, John Bentley and Keith Wood. Fran Cotton and Jim Telfer are sharing their thoughts, plus Jill Douglas, the sports broadcaster and childhood family friend who now works as CEO of the foundation. Oh, and Doddie himself, of course.
I'm still here. I'm still fighting. We have a foundation up and running. My name's Doddie. We were able to invest nearly £6 million into research and £1 million into helping people with MND. And we'll keep fighting till we try and find this cure.
So we sat down with Finlay Calder, John Jeffrey, Scott Hastings, Gary Armstrong, myself, Kathy, another friend of Doddie's called Stuart Weir. We sat with a lawyer, we sat with an accountant, we sat with some people and said, right, what are we going to do? Doddie said, this is a disgrace. There is nothing. I've got no hope, no choice. There's nothing. There's no treatment. That can't be right. And I'm not settling for that.
He actually was told by the doctors that he needed to go home. He got motor neurone disease, and the test, there is no test. They tested for everything else, at which point they decided he obviously got motor neurone disease. Go home, look it up on the internet and see what works in terms of treatment. And he just thought, well, that's not good enough.
And I'm surrounded by people who love and care for me and want to help me. Not everybody's got that around them. So I want somebody who's got this awful news to have some level of support. Now, there are some fantastic charities, MND Scotland, MND Association, frontline care charities who deliver incredible support, care teams up and down the country, NHS nurses, neurological centres who do incredible work. But there are no treatments. So Doddie and the group of us decided we would start fundraising. And
started to raise the awareness about the condition and has raised millions.
And of course, when somebody hears that Doddie Weir's got MND, the money starts to flow in, and then there's a responsibility to think, well, we need to do this properly. So we went through some real serious governance. We wanted to make it very transparent. We wanted everybody to know where the money was going. And we sat down and decided that we would need some advice from the research community. So we now have a scientific advisory board which meets twice a year, and it is filled with the most eminent professors of neurology and clinicians from across the country, and the UK is world leading at this, so we're very lucky. And our first grant award was to a guy called Professor Chris Shaw in London, at King's London, a Kiwi. He's the only New Zealander I've ever met who's not a rugby fan, strangely enough. But he tells a great story. He met Doddie, and Doddie said to him, so how long have you been in this game, working in MND? And Chris Shaw said, quite pleased with himself, 25 years. So I said, I've got plenty of experience. And Doddie said, 25 years, what have you been doing? Where's the cure? Where's the results? Have you got any treatments? And it rocked Chris Shaw, and he's back on his heels, and he thought, do you know what? This guy's going to be disruptive. And he is. And we ask some really big questions of these people. We give them money. We've invested £6 million to date in just 3 years. And £1 million in addition has gone to help people living with MND, to help them live as good a life as they can.
We get quite a number of emails of people who have MND who are no longer here. There was one a wee while ago, and to show how debilitating it is, this husband has MND and the wife cannot even give time to go put the washing out because something might happen to her husband while away. So it's 24/7 care that some people need. I'm not at that stage yet.
We've attracted huge support. We couldn't have done it without incredible support. The rugby community, the farming community, people generally who can identify with it, because this is not a rare disease. 1 in 300 people. You have a 1 in 300 chance in your lifetime of having MND. The reason that there aren't that many people with it at any one time is because you die bloody quickly. And you die a horrible death. So people identify it, they want to help. We raise incredible funds through all manner of activities, and we do it because we do it for Doddie, because he leads us, he inspires you every day, makes me want to be better, and his view is if we can't do anything for him, what about doing something for the people that will come behind him? And that's a big thing to say.
How he has managed to conduct himself in the manner he has, and the immense help he's given to so many people. So many people appreciate what they've got because they see what Doddie is going through, and he is so self-effacing. But, you know, how much money has he raised? He's raised an immense amount of money for future research.
COVID's had a wee bit of an impact on it, but we've been able to start trials in the UK, which is lovely because that's the first time ever that's happened.
And he's inspired a whole raft of people that, you know, his contribution to life in general is just one that's unsurpassed in my circle.
With the support and the team we've got, we've been able to challenge the system. So try and get the professors maybe to work a little bit harder, trying to get Parliament to stand up, because it's an absolutely brutal disease. For people who don't know, it's a muscle wasting disease. So eventually my leg muscles are disappear, so you can't walk. My arms and hands don't work very well, so you can't breathe. You can't itch your head, for example, can't clean your teeth, can't do your hair. Your swallowing muscles disappear, so you can't swallow food, can't speak. And then your internal diaphragm muscles disappear, so you can't breathe. So it's an ultimate brutal disease. And the impact it has on family and friends, not only the patient, is quite horrific. So we need to do something about that. And with the foundation, I do think we're making inroads into trying to quicken up the process to try and find a stoppage or a cure.
The rugby family was wonderful when we played. We could go around the world to rugby playing countries, and you were invited into people's house without a second thought. They trusted you. They wanted to hear your stories, and it's an amazing thing to play in the rugby family. And then we've seen with Doddie mobilising it, when you have an icon like Doddie who is universally loved, what he can achieve by tapping into this amazing disparate community we have all around the world, bound together by this wonderful game we've got.
An example of what friends have done, Rob comes from Nile Call, which I don't think a lot happens. So he comes up with some most amazing ideas. And in January, he thought of Doddie.
I spend a lot of time sitting on a quad bike driving around the farm, and occasionally weird ideas come up, and every so often one of them works.
We raised over £1 million for the foundation, which is truly amazing.
I'm just a facilitator who's working in the shadows and working with Doddie's aura. The attraction that he can push out to people makes it very easy to recruit people to events. And I've done similar events and, had 30 people take part. So to get up into tens of thousands was wonderful. But it's all down to a figurehead like Doddie.
People are enjoying not only supporting, but getting quite a lot out of the reason behind it all. And I think it's bringing a smile to a lot of people, which I quite enjoy and love to see, albeit the real story is to try and find a cure.
What strikes me is his tremendous enthusiasm for everything, and he's so positive, shows so much, of his natural ebullience that he's always had. He came to my house week last Friday. We sat in the garden, the back of my garden there, and had coffee. And he was tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
Well, I've been up to see him, I think, 3 times since he was first diagnosed. And the thing that comes over always is his positivity. He's always positive. That sense of fun is still there. And you can only have fantastic admiration for his stoicism and his ability to cope, because when I first went up to see him, the initial prognosis was that he would no longer be with us at this stage. But he is, and that's testament to his fighting spirit.
Every day we fight with M&D, and at the moment we will keep fighting. But the thanks to all the support and generosity make it worthwhile for getting up in the morning. My family, friends, and Robson, the one, have been amazing.
He's always been a huge amount of fun, and it's tragic to see the situation he's in, but it's wonderful to see how he's turned a negative, a big negative, into such a massive positive, and that's the legacy of the man, really, isn't it?
I check in with him as much as I can. I have an ability to make him cry, which he doesn't thank me for. Yeah, look, I think what he's done and how he's gone about it is extraordinary. And it's not just him, it's his family, how they've gone about it. It's extraordinary. And I keep slagging him that he's hogging the limelight, but how his wife and kids have been, which I think they're sharing this experience with the whole world, is pretty extraordinary.
His energy is great, and he obviously there's a physical deterioration. I can tell you that I've seen it more in the last few months. It's been difficult because he's been shielded, and I see the effect that the disease is having on him and others that we are in touch with regularly. Not only does he have the energy to continue to ask big questions of the research community, to campaign. We had a meeting with Matt Hancock in December, which was fantastic, and we've got some progress there. But also the unseen side of what he's doing every day, and that's when we are contacted by families and people who've had this diagnosis who just want to talk to him. And it must be draining. Emotionally, I don't know how he does it, but he talks to people, he supports people. We've recorded dodcasts to share his experiences. He's very open, very candid about his life. So, you ask him where he gets his energy from. He says, I've only got a limited time, so I might as well make the most of it. So he basically fuels himself on good food, good wine, Guinness, and he gets on with it. And that's, he's fortunate he's got the most amazing other half, Kathy, Mary Doll as he calls her, is an absolute diamond. So, yeah, they're a good team. They just kind of move forward step by step and adapt and change and enjoy themselves. This lockdown's been hard on everybody, but it's given them a year of being at home. Doddie was the most sociable creature in the world. Kathy's very sociable, but it meant that they were at home, they were spending time together and just getting that really valuable family time. I think that's been really important.
I had not a go at Doddie. I didn't have a go at him, but I just said, it's all right you creating this legacy for your family, for your motor neurone disease, which he has done. He's created a legacy. He said, but you've got precious time, Doddie, now with the boys as well. So the 3 sons, and he was doing a lot of travelling, you see. And his argument for that was, look, while I can, and I'm able to, I want to, and I'm going to, and I get that. But the one thing about the lockdown has been that it's given him not the most desirable of time, but some time to spend with the boys. Which otherwise he'd just be going off driving around working and what have you. But he's still fighting.
Doddie is Doddie Weir. He's not defined by MND. Kathy and the boys are not defined by having a dad who's got MND. They are the Weirs. She's Kathy Weir. The boys are great. They've got their mates. They do their thing. Doddie does his thing. He doesn't do it in the same way that he used to. But, you know, they're living their life. And it has had a profound effect on all of them. But they have a lot of fun. And Doddie always says, have a bit of fun, you know, have a bit of a caper. And that's, you know, what a brilliant way to be.
Everybody knows who Doddie Weir is in Scotland. And that's even during lockdown, he hasn't been able to do much. He's suffered from as regards the fundraising things that he could have done during that year. But if you met anybody in the street in my town or any town in Scotland, he said, you know, about Doddie Weir, they would say, oh yeah.
He's always lit up the room wherever he goes, and it's a characteristic that hasn't left him. And he says his legacy is, you know, smile a lot, have fun. But I think we all hope his other legacy will be that he facilitated finding effective treatments, or even better, a cure for MND. And I know that's you know, the big focus of his life, and it's wonderful because it gives him real direction and something to be positive about.
Have fun and enjoy what you do.
You know, if you were going to put one word next to Doddie Weir, it'd be fun. And that's...
I think we're done. Thank you. Doddie Weir, farmer, forward, friend, father and fundraiser. His My Name is Doddie Foundation continues to work tirelessly to raise money to help those suffering from motor neurone disease. And so we reach the end of this 10-part series on the Lions of 97. We've taken you inside the tour like never before. From the initial excitement...
We're remembered for being the happy tour. That was amazing. Happiness. Everybody was smiling all the time.
Through the pain.
I mean, it's bloody hard.
And the preparation.
Scrummaging is something entirely different.
To the pride.
It changed my life, really.
And the planning.
It gives me goosebumps singing about it. It's a bit emotional as well.
And the perfect performances.
I mean, it was champagne rugby.
To ultimately the celebrations.
The best 6-7 weeks of my life.
With some laughs along the way.
Moo type of noise.
From some of the greatest characters in the game.
The greatest tour ever.
Download all 10 episodes of the series right now from your favourite podcast platform. A final word to Doddie Weir. His 1997 Lions tour ended prematurely, but it remains one of his life highlights.
I had a great time in that tour and still have very fond memories. You might not see a lot of the people on that tour for a long time, but when you do meet up, it's like yesterday. And that is very true, just like yesterday.
Keep the conversation going at Inside Tour Pod, including your experiences of watching or perhaps meeting Doddie Weir. Please post a review if you can, if you've enjoyed this series, which has been a 94-19 production for Auddy. Producer Danny Garlick, sound design and original music by Lee Sparey, with the executive editor for 94-19, Jonathan Overend. I'm Alastair Eykyn, and until next time, thanks for listening. If you've loved hearing about the Lions of 1997, check out the critically acclaimed book, This Is Your Everest, by Tom English and Peter Burns, the inside story of the 1997 Lions tour to South Africa, told by the players, coaches and managers on both sides. Insightful, funny, spine-tingling and full of raw emotion, it explores the tour in new depth to make it the perfect accompaniment to this podcast, Living with Lions, and the 2021 Lions tour to South Africa.